I haven't filmed to get ready with me in a few days, so here I am. It's Monday. I would love to sit here and tell you guys that I'm doing okay, and I'm doing okay physically. Emotionally, that's another story. Because it's Monday, it is the day before Jackson's surgery. This is not a COVID-based video, I'm just going to tell you that right now. We're going to talk about mental health in this one. Jackson is my pug with the mast cell tumor. And Jackson has surgery tomorrow. Surgery is just the beginning of this journey with Jax, because surgery removes the tumor, but that's the reality when I find out the grade of the tumor, what we're dealing with, what steps are coming next, and the reality that I have to face is it's going to give me an approximation of, is this a one-time deal? Is this something that I just have to watch out for in the future, which is what I have prayed and prayed and prayed for? Is this something that he's going to have medication treatment for? Or is this something that, worst case scenario, is something that we remove, but I could possibly only have months left with this dog who is my baby? I have been through multiple traumas in my life. And trauma victims, it only takes one trauma to make people shift their entire thinking perspective. And that is because that is the brain's protection mechanism. My therapist used this example, which was really cool. And I mean, he won't care that I share it. Say you go to sit down in a chair. Your entire life you sat down in chairs. Your belief system is that if I sit in a chair will hold me. But at one time you go to sit in a chair. You're in an auditorium full of people. The chair breaks, you fall, and everyone laughs at you. It's a traumatic experience for anyone. What happens going forward every time you go to sit in a chair? Some people might check the chair legs because they're going to remember that. Some people might go so far to carry a screwdriver so that they can fix the chair legs. Some people might develop an OCD tendency where they have to tap the chair so many times. Some people might never sit again. They will typically stand because the emotional pain from that was so bad that they just can't bear the thought of sitting in a chair and that happening again. The logic behind it is not there. The reality is, will that ever happen again? Probably not. But the brain still is like, nope, we're not doing that again. It takes one time. And it can be something minor, but that's how the brain works. People who've had multiple traumas, their mind is just that much worse. We're always worst case scenario people. He took, like me, for example, say I'm in a neighborhood. I have Lisa who's never been through trauma, Lisa who's been through trauma, and I'm sitting on the front porch of my house, and there's a new person in the neighborhood walking down the road. Lisa, who's never been through trauma, is like, oh, look, it's a new neighbor. I'm going to go introduce myself and just talk to him. Whereas Lisa, who's been through trauma, is like, that person's going to break into my house. Bit of an exaggeration, but it's the mindset, and it's the perspective and the way that the two Lisas think. He also brought up something equally fascinating that they found in studies, that in trauma, with the way that the brain works, with the left brain, and I'm not even going to go into all the lobes of the brain. I'll get it wrong. Someone will call me on the video, and you should. I'm not a clinician. I'm not a doctor. It's a top-down, bottom-up approach with trauma. People who've gone through trauma have a constant drip of adrenaline going at all times. That's generally why when you talk to someone who has experienced trauma or gone through trauma, they have anxiety. They tell you that their mind races all the time and that we can't shut it off, which mine is that way all the time. If I try to go to sleep at night, that's why I've had insomnia for years. My brain is going 99 miles an hour. It's like 7 hamsters on wheels, all running backwards, all running into each other. It can be any kind of topic. It's intrusive thoughts all the time. I didn't even know intrusive thoughts were a thing. I thought that was just something that happened to everybody, but no, it's a thing. So the constant adrenaline drip, he explained by saying, you know, say someone sneaks up behind you, or you're at a haunted house, something like that. How long really does it take for adrenaline to kick in? And I said, maybe half a second, if even that long. Yes, that's the correct answer. That's your body's fight or flight syndrome kicking in. If you've experienced enough trauma, whatever form it may have been, that constant adrenaline drip is there as another protection mechanism. Your body is sitting there going, what's next? What's next? It's constantly looking for danger because it's trying to protect as much of the brain as it can. That's why anxiety medications typically don't work on a lot of us. It would make sense too, as I had mentioned this before, like before surgery, I have to have a lot of surgeries because I had malignant melanoma at 25, and I have to go in more than I would like and have wide excisions when spots come back abnormal. It would make sense why they have so much trouble sedating me. Adrenaline is a powerful, powerful drug. Trying to counteract that, yeah, next to impossible. So to me, that was absolutely fascinating. The mind is so powerful. I've said this on my own even before I started seeing this person. Your mind is the most powerful tool that you have. You can make it be your best friend. You can make it be your worst enemy. And it is so much about perspective. I am easily startled by things like loud noises. I hate it when, for example, people's phones are on ring. It freaks me out if I'm standing in a crowd and somebody's phone goes off and it's on ring. I just freak out. I know that's not a normal reaction. And he even said, were you always like that? No, I was not always like that. I used to blare music so loudly that I'm sure my parents were in the next room being like, Jesus, Lord, are we raising like Satan's spawn in there? What have you given us for a child? I used to do that in my car too. I don't do that anymore. Just the intense sounds I can't handle. I also can't handle lights. It's very hard for me to even sit here and have these bathroom lights on to get ready, but I can't exactly do my hair or do makeup without light. And I know you guys think I look crazy in this lighting on my phone with this makeup. I promise you it doesn't look like this when I go outside. And, you know, he went back to that and he said, you know, were you always like that? No, I was not always like that. And he explained that's very much a learned thing that your body has learned after these experiences that you've gone through. It's a protection mechanism that your body has taught itself. That's why you have such issues with lights and sounds and that they startle you like that. So I have been in therapy previously and hated it. Absolutely hated it. No offense to my therapist friends out there. I think you guys are great. I actually wanted to be a therapist, coincidentally. I started school majoring in psychology. Guess who talked me out of being a therapist? The one and only Keith Lunsford, my father. He sat me down, had a talk with me, said to go anywhere in that field. Now, this was, keep in mind, I'm 40. This was 22 years ago. A lot has changed in 22 years. The mental health field is much more widely accepted. I don't think he ever thought that it would get to a point where we would be where we are in the mental health field. He told me that to get anywhere in that field, you have to have a doctorate degree, which is not true now. It helps if you do. He said something that I'll never forget because it still is with me today. He said, this will eat you alive. I understand where he was coming from on that because my dad is a pastor. People will come to my dad for advice and for counseling before they will go to a therapist. I know that now because I know what people have gone to him about. He doesn't tell me the full stories because he would never divulge people's personal secrets, but that goes against everything he does as a pastor. I just know their circumstances from the church, and I know that they have most likely gone and talked to him. He would never share anybody's actual conversation with me. And quite frankly, I wouldn't want to hear it. I hear enough on a daily basis in my job. But I knew where he was going, because now that I'm the age that I am and I know the reality of what my dad does for a living, I'm telling you guys, if I had that job, I couldn't do it. I have a feeling that there's people who come to my dad sometimes for stuff that if they came to me, I'd be like, why are you talking to me? Or I'd want to tell them things like, I'm not going to say that. And the reason I'm not going to say that is because everybody's feelings are valid. And I do believe everybody's feelings are valid. But the thing, I'm so protective of my dad because my dad doesn't get paid for his time when people come to him for counseling. Unlike therapists who get paid a lot. My dad is on the clock 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the man gets paid nothing for it, for his overtime. So, that's my rant on my dad. But, back to, is Lisa okay? Right now, I can look you straight into the face, not really the face, this camera, and tell you, at this moment in time, no, I'm not okay. And I don't think it's ever a bad thing to be able to admit at a moment in time that you're not okay. Good grief. Hobby Lobby candles are built different. I think if you pack up in that moment and live there, it's a different story. I truly do. I don't think that it's ever a problem to say, though, I'm having a period in my life that is difficult. This is a period in my life that I need some help. So I'm going to reach out to someone. I think mental health was stigmatized and still is for far too long. I think people, and here's where I'm making a point back to COVID with this. I think people who went through COVID, survived, who now have chronic illness, who have had to make lifestyle modifications, who can't handle their stressors in a way that they normally would. Like for me, I would normally be in my kickboxing gym, probably multiple times a day, beating the life out of a bag. I can't do that though, because life has thrown me a huge curveball in the way of being chronically ill. So I've had to find other means of taking care of myself. And I've done that now in the form of reaching out for help through therapy. There's someone who doesn't know me, doesn't know my situation, and just a neutral party who is an outside perspective. And I think it's going to be a really good thing. I think anyone who's had COVID and who is now a long hauler should do the same. I think your family and friends can only help you so much, if they can even help you, because they know you too well. I think you need a neutral perspective to help you get through this in your life. Because whether you're going through anything on top of COVID and COVID long hauler, because that in and of itself is something. Chronic illness can give you PTSD. Chronic illness can cause depression. Chronic illness can cause a whole slew of other things that people really can struggle with. Then you add on a dog with cancer. My other dog is sick. Just other things going on in my life. So yeah, I made the decision to say, I need some help here. And I don't feel bad for it. I don't feel lesser of a person for it. I actually feel like it was probably the bravest thing I've ever done in my life to say, hey, this is a referral source I called on for years. He's not my referral source anymore, so it's not a conflict of interest. At this moment in time, I'm not okay. I need some help. You're the only therapist I trust. Let's go. Let's do this. There's a lot of things that I know I look at wrong. My perspective is wrong. There's a lot of things I've been influenced by, and there's a lot of belief systems I have that need to be unlearned that I know are on me. Let's do this. It's not going to be easy and it's not going to change overnight, but I'm willing to do the work. So if you're in that headspace, just know that you're not alone. Talk to you guys later.